like in the book, for example, talk about how Latino theologians like Virgilio Elizondo and Justo Gonzalez and others have talked about how it was very significant that Jesus was from Galilee. Right? They say, taking our Latino cultural lens and reading the Gospels, we find it very important that Jesus was from Galilee, because Galilee was the hood of its day. Galilee was the hood. And when God came to earth, incarnated, in humanity, God chose to be from the hood, right? Galilee was a borderlands region in which Jewish, Greek, and Roman culture came together. It was a colonized region. Galilee was on the fringes of the Jewish community itself. The power was in Jerusalem, right? The political, religious, economic authority. People from Galilee were looked down upon as like, oh, they're Galilean, right? They speak with an accent, right? They're these kind of country bumpkins. They're these campesinos, if you will, right? And it's very significant and deliberate. Latino theologians would say that God came in Jesus Christ as a Galilean, right? And they frame that as, they call it the Galilee principle, the Galilee principle.
Oh.
Those that human beings reject, Virgilio Elizondo says, those that human beings reject, God chooses as God's very own. So beautiful. The Galilee
Beautiful.
Principle, right? So beautiful, right? I mean, we could just like drop the mic,
yeah,
and kind of just leave right now on that, right? And it's like, so that it totally stands colonial Christianity on its head to see Jesus in his own historical context, and also the fact that Jesus did most of his ministry in Galilee, right? And Jesus was raised in Galilee. Jesus chose the leaders of his new movement. They were all Galileans, right? They weren't from the Beverly Hills or like Palos Verdes or like, Harvard of the day. They were these rabbinic school flunkies, right? Who were fishermen, right? Who didn't have the legit creds to fit into the institutions of their day. But in order to change the system, Jesus had to choose those who are outside of the system. And I think that conversation, kind of decolonizing Jesus, right? That's a great place to start. And then from there, how has that same legacy of Jesus of Nazareth, Jesus of Galilee, how has that borne itself out historically, and how did that get corrupted over time?
Oh, that's beautiful. I never heard that perspective on Galilee. I had no idea. I never heard that before, but that makes it so much more beautiful.
Yes, and that is a very distinctly Latino theology insight. It's part of this community cultural wealth, right, that I'm talking about. It's like that insight came from a Roman Catholic priest in the hood of San Antonio, Texas, ministering, right, in the Mexican American community, who went to get his Ph.D. and said, "Oh my gosh, Galilee is like the barrio of San Antonio, right?" So it's like that social location really matters, and there's 500 years of that type of treasure there for us to dig into.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love that. And you think about like, Christ could have been, stayed in the temple. He could have stayed in, the religious institutions and chose as his disciples other scholars, other Pharisees to kind of join up. Like, these are the scholarly leaders. I'm gonna train them, and that's not where Jesus spent his time. He spent his time with the people. And then hearing this perspective of like, he wasn't in the nicest area. He was in the Galilee, and that's where he chose to do his ministry and spend his time and to train up disciples. Like, what a beautiful picture of the Christ, like being with the marginalized.
Amen. Yeah, it totally just reorients our view of Christianity.
Hey, thank you so much for checking out this video clip from the Delgado podcast. To get more videos like this, simply subscribe here on YouTube. You can also download the full episode of each show on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, or your favorite podcast player. Take care.